the topic for today's discussion, as we have already started with this defamation, and we have discussed in our previous class as to what defamation is, and we have also gone through the first element of defamation, that was that publication of a false statement. So the statement that is published should be false statement, and we have discussed that what do we understand by the term false statement, where we have seen that it is a statement that lowers the esteem of a person in front of the right thinking members of the society. Okay, it makes them shun, or there is some avoidance from the member of the society. So what is the test that we have taken up is that of the right minded citizen, where we say that a man of fair average intelligence, and not that of a special class of person whose values are not shared or approved by the fair minded members of the society, is what is considered to be defamation under the eyes of law. And in order to consider it as a defamation, it should be the statement which is made with that results in defamation should be false. Now we'll be discussing about the second aspect, that is a word must be published, where we have to see that what is it, the second criteria, the second element to consider, the tort of defamation, right? So when we say that the tort of defamation seeks to protect the claimant's reputation, and the statement will only harm the reputation if party are awarded of them. They are giving some statement about the person, and they are publishing that statement. So publication, that is communication of the libel or slander to a third party, is therefore is a vital component under law of tort of defamation. And this is obviously satisfied by the printing of an article in newspaper or book, or shouting a remark in front of other people, provided the words are intelligible to the third party. It means they are understandable by the third party. And in this case, problem arises when the defendant alleges that they did not intend to publish the statement, and that it was meant to be a private remark between the claimant and defendant. So here you need to understand, and you need to keep in mind that intention is not a defense under the tort of defamation. If it is reasonably foreseeable that the statement might come to the knowledge of a third party, then publication will exist, and that publication, if defamatory in nature, will amount to tort of defamation. Is it clear? So when we talk about defamation, we say that what is it? We say that publication means making the defamatory matter known to some person other than the person who is defamed. And if the plaintiff alone knows that no defamation is there, then it is no defamation. The plaintiff alone knows about that matter. If third person wrongfully reads the letter meant for plaintiff, it is no publication, then a defendant is not liable. But if there is a likeliness of to be read by somebody else, like clerk, spouse, or any other person, then it is said to be publication. Will go through the case of Thaker versus Richardson, and any kind of communication through postcard and telegram is what is also covered under the concept of publication. So we'll look into the aspect as to what do we understand by publication, and how does it leads to the publication of a defamatory content. So there are a few cases that we'll be dealing with. One of the cases is in Newstead versus London Express Limited. Here the defendant published an article stating that Harlan Newstead, a Camberwell man, had been convicted of bigamy. The story was true of Harlan Newstead, a Camberwell barman. So the action for defamation was brought by another Harold Newstead, a Camberwell barber, as the words were considered to be understood as referring to the plaintiff. And in this case, the defendants were held liable. So, what was the case? In this case, the defendant published an article, okay, and therefore the action for defamation was brought by the barber, who was another Harold Newstead, and these were considered to be defamatory. So, defendants were held liable. There is another case, which is an Indian case, which is where the Delhi High Court has said that an action of defamation is maintainable only by the person who was defamed, and not by the friends or relatives. Is it clear? So this is important for you to understand that who can file, that is also important to know, right? But in contrast, there are cases also where it has been said that there is no defamation that is there. Like Haq versus Haq is one of the case where the defendant in an unsealed envelope sent a letter to the plaintiff mother, which the plaintiff alleged to be defamatory. The letter was opened and read by an inquisitive butler in an admitted breach of his duty. So the plaintiff argued that since there was a presumption that postmen read postcard, even though they have no business doing so, the same presumption ought to apply to unsealed envelopes. However, here the Court of Appeal held there was no publication, even though the envelope was unsealed. It was not part of the butler's duty to open the letter, and his conduct was not a direct consequences of sending it. So what is it? The court said that in the cases where you are no way concerned and you open any kind of letter or any such postcard, it will not amount to defamation. In fact, this is a breach of duty on their part. Okay, another question, there are a few other questions that comes up is whether communication between the spouses is publication or not. So in India, husband and wife are one person, and the communication of defamatory matter from husband to wife or vice versa is not considered to be publication. And the communication of a matter to be defamatory of one spouse to other by third person is sufficient publication. But where the person, there is a matter of the third person being involved, it can said to be a defamatory, and it is said that it is publication. The most important case in this aspect is TJ Bonham versus MC Varghese case, and this is a case which is also provided in your manual. So we'll be doing the cases from manual as I've already stated after completing the unit, so that there is a proper revision also. So this is a case where the question which has arisen was whether a letter from the husband to wife containing defamatory matter concerning the father-in-law could be proved to be an action by father-in-law. Can father-in-law bring an action against son-in-law? So in that case, this T.J. Poonam wrote a number of letters to his wife containing some defamatory statements about his wife's father, that is Mr. MC Varghese. And these letters were passed on by his wife to her father, right? What she did, she passed on these letters to her father. Then father-in-law launched a prosecution against his son-in-law, complaining the defamatory matter contained in those letters. And Burnham contended that the letters addressed by him to his wife are not, except with his consent, admissible as evidences under Section 122 of Indian Evidence Act. And since the wife is not permitted to disclose those letters, no offense of defamation could be made out. Right here, it is important, and all of you should know what is Section 122 says. So, if you go through Section 122 of the Indian Evidence Act, it says that no person who is or has been married shall be compelled to disclose any communication made to him during marriage by any person to whom he has been married, nor shall be permitted to disclose any such communication unless the person who made it or his representative in interest consent, except in suit between married person. So the Kerala High Court, keeping in mind this section 122 of the Indian Evidence Act, has decided that the letter meant for the wife and could not be proved in court either by her or through any relation of her to the prejudice of her husband, and such communication are precluded by law to be disclosed. And what cannot be or is not proved in a court has to be assumed. Yes. So in this case, one second.